Hi again, it's Michigan's AutoTalk Podcast, and welcome in. This is episode number 82. We remind you every episode of Michigan's AutoTalk is all about celebrating the automobile and everything automotive. We're also about helping you, the car and truck owners across our great state of Michigan, birthplace of everything automotive, including, of course, the big three, which is, they're a little bit bigger than that today. Don't forget, you can hear our podcast and all of our other episodes, all 81 of them, everywhere you listen to your podcasts, including the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on the Amazon Alexa smart speaker as well, Google Podcast, and just about any place else. If your car radio is a smart radio, you can listen to Michigan's AutoTalk Podcast there. We have a special version of this episode focused on Veterans Day, and I'm really pleased to welcome Scott Rumfield. Scott is with the Ford Employee Resource Group and plays a critical role in highlighting the contribution of many, many veterans at Ford Automotive. And as this podcast is going live the day before Veterans Day, we want to recognize this. This is an important thing. There are a lot of great people who work for Ford, thousands of employees. And first of all, Scott Rumfield, you are a product line manager, also a vet, and you lead the Employee Resource Group and the veterans effort there. Welcome to Michigan's Auto Talk. I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you for having me here this morning.
Well, you, Scott, are a veteran yourself. Give us a little bit of a background, give our listeners a little bit of background about your service and, kind of how you got tapped to be involved with Ford. This is an important role.
Yeah, thank you. After high school graduation, I joined the Air Force, and I spent a little over 10 years in the Air Force, moved around quite a bit throughout the country. And I'm not originally from this area, but I met my wife while we were in, and she is from this area. We ended up moving back here in 2014. Ford was a big part of my life growing up in rural Pennsylvania. I worked on a farm, so we had Broncos and Ford tractors and everything like that. And one of my neighbors gave me a Ford Pinto when I was 14 to fix up in time for driving. So
I owned my brother had a Pinto, Scott, so I can relate. Yeah, there was a lot of fixing on those cars.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and put a lot of work into it, and that was my first car. So it was a natural attraction for me to come work for a company that was a big part of my life growing up, and so I networked and I applied and eventually got hired by Ford. And when I was going through my initial orientation, they had a presentation by all the different ERG or Employee Resource Group leads. And one of the ones that really spoke to me, because I was a veteran, was the veteran group. So I reached out to the gentleman that gave that presentation, and I just started to get involved. And over that 7 years time, I kind of gotten more involved, and different positions opened up. It's all volunteer, so it wasn't. It was on top of my job, but this is a real passion for me.
Yeah.
And eventually, about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, the lead position opened up, and I stepped up into it.
Well, congratulations on that. And this is really worth noting. You and your group have been recognized by the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. They have recognized Ford as a gold-level veteran-friendly employer, which is, that's something to celebrate, Scott. Your Employee Resource Group, the Veteran Network Group, is a big part of this effort. I don't know personally because I've never served, and I have great respect for those who have served, especially those who have served recently and are struggling with, being just in a new phase of their life, post-traumatic stress disorder, and just any number of other challenges. And, when a person who's a veteran who's struggling with issues like this, Scott, goes to work, they go to work at Ford, the issues don't go away, but to have the resources you have there, your Veterans Network Group actually set up a program for listening sessions for these veterans to help them just talk about what they were experiencing. Can you talk about this? I mean, this is really powerful.
Yeah, and thanks, Phil, for highlighting this. So last year, when the withdrawal from Afghanistan was occurring, I like everybody else, kind of saw it on the news. Right, that was the first time it kind of came on, and I immediately turned around and talked to our board and the ERG board, and started talking to our leaders within the ERG. And I said, we need to bring our people together to be able to provide space to where they can talk about their feelings. They can have resources to turn to and provide them with resources, whether they're counselors through the company, whether they're counselors through the VA, just provide them with all types of resources. So we all agreed that this was a very important issue. We need to do this. I immediately talked to our senior leadership at Ford, and we were able to that day, the next day was our first session. We did multiple sessions over multiple days for the next 2 weeks to make sure that we were able to get everybody across the country. So this isn't just a Dearborn-based group. We serve the entire country. So all of our manufacturing facilities, we've got over 4,700 veterans across the country. And we wanted to make sure that this was available for all of them. So we coordinated with the UAW, and we set up these sessions, and we got not only veterans that came in, but we had people that their family members were veterans or their coworkers were veterans. They came in and they listened, and it gave them a broader understanding of some of the thoughts and challenges and issues that some of the veterans were going. And they're like, now I understand maybe why, my brother's reserved right now, or my coworker is not his normal self or her normal self because of some of these issues. We had Vietnam veterans come in and talk about the similarities and how it stirred up feelings because it was similar to, the fall of Saigon and the pullout from Vietnam and the things that they were feeling. So it was cross-generational as well as, veteran, non-veteran. It provided great space for people to really get their feelings out and also understand others' perspectives.
That's really cool. Scott Rumfield is with us on Michigan's AutoTalk Podcast. He's a product line manager for Ford, also a vet, and he leads Ford's employee resource group representing, what did you say, 47 veterans, 4,700 veterans across the country? That's a lot of guys and women.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really, Scott, I wasn't, boy, I wish I would have had the honor of just being in the room for some of these listening sessions. Talk about those just for a moment, if you will. What was that like when you started those?
It was powerful. That's probably the most impactful. Yeah, it was so powerful. People came in and they talked about people that they had left behind. So interpreters that were Afghanis that they worked with and they served with side by side. We have a story of an Afghan interpreter that was partnered with one of our members that they went out on multiple missions together. The interpreter actually put their life on the line to save our member. And, just talked about the love for the interpreter, their family. And then with the withdrawal, the interpreter was still there. And, the concern about the safety of them and their family with the Taliban coming in and taking over. There was that there was talk and concern about, were all of our efforts futile? I went over there, I sacrificed, I've had brothers and sisters, not me personally, but, people were talking about it. We've had brothers and sisters in arms that have, given their life for what we are doing over there. And, now we withdrew like this and we're giving it back. And was that all in vain? So there was lots of powerful emotions going on. And I can tell you every single session, there was never a dry eye in the house. We had professional counselors online that if anybody needed to immediately speak to somebody, that they could actually exit, the virtual room and go into a room and speak to the counselors one-on-one. Again, we were linked up with the VA, made sure that those resources were available. So there was a lot of great things there.
I'll bet. It's got to be a real, I mean, you put yourself out there for this cause, and it's got to be very rewarding for you, not only as a member of the team at Ford, and it's a big team globally, and not only that, 4,700 veteran men and women across the company. This is important to Ford, and I know you said a long time ago you were in an orientation. Just if you could put into words, why is this important to Ford, recognizing these veterans? I mean, you're living this at the worker level, but can you just address that a little bit for our listeners?
Sure. So this is important to Ford on, I would say, multiple levels. So the first level, I'll start kind of at the highest level, is that when you look at, Ford as a multinational company, billion-dollar company, and driving towards results, veterans come in with a bias for action. They come in to, they give their all into the endeavors that they take on. And, you really have people that buy into culture, because of the military kind of recruit you and bring you in based on your aptitude to adapt to culture and kind of a way of life, and they train you for skills. So our veterans come into Ford. They have skills, of course, that are transferable, but they also come in with this culture. So at a corporate level, Jim Farley, Mr. Ford, they're building this culture, for the company, and people are coming in and they're helping kind of further that. They're already kind of there. So I think at a corporate level, it's driving those results right there.
Mm-hmm.
As you move down, you see at the individual team levels, there's many attributes of veterans that as they come into the workplace, they immediately start to make impacts on teams. There's values and leadership and mentorship and coaching that are just innate in veterans, because from the day we join to the day we leave, that's ingrained in us, to help the person below us and look to the people above us for mentorship and coaching. And that comes in. And when you have a team, it doesn't matter what position they're in, they're looking to help the people, help everybody with, coaching, training, all of that. So, it's just a force multiplier when they come into the company.
I love it. Well, congratulations on the program, Scott Rumfield, product line manager, veteran, and a leader of Ford's employee resource group and the veteran network group, and these really powerful listening sessions as we celebrate not only Veterans Day, but Veterans Day weekend as this episode is released. And, I don't know about our listeners, but every day for me is Veterans Day. I look around, I know the people in my circle of friends and coworkers that are veterans, and I certainly appreciate them. I've got to ask, Scott, you talked about the Pinto. Do you have a special Ford in your life today, or another special car?
Well, as I got older and able to actually purchase them, Mustangs have held a close place in my heart.
Yeah.
So I had a 2002 GT that I put a lot of work into. My brother has a 2015 and a 1969 Mustang. So we're a Mustang family. We put a lot of work into them, and that's really my car. My dream car is a 1970, Mach 1.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Scott, I'm right with you. If I find one, I'll send it your way. Okay. There's
yes, sir.
There's a few of them. I have a 65. Let's see how good you are with Ford. I have a 65 Ford Galaxy 500. You know that car, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I've got a 65 Ford, and I take that to shows occasionally. And it's fun to see. There are probably about a half dozen really nice Mach 1s here throughout the West Michigan region that I see at a lot of these shows. So we'll have to send some good Mach 1 karma your way if one ever falls into your hands. That would be great. Scott, I just want to, on behalf of Al Schwinkendorf and John Puick, our hosts. I'm the producer for this, so I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm sure on behalf of all of our listeners of Michigan's Auto Talk, we want to thank you and congratulate you and Ford on this effort. This is not only that, but this recognition as being a gold-level veteran-friendly employer. It just speaks to what a great company Ford is, and congratulations. Really happy for you guys.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you again for having me on today.
Well, of course, we love it, and hopefully someday we'll have you back on to tell the story of how you found your Mach 1, okay?
There you go. I look forward to that.
We do as well. Scott Rumfield, Product Line Manager, proud veteran, and more importantly, the guy who is heading up Ford's very important effort, their Employee Resource Group and Veteran Network Group, making a difference for Ford. He's been our guest on this episode number 82 of Michigan's Auto Talk Podcast. On behalf of Al and John and everyone here at Michigan's Auto Talk Podcast, I'm Phil Tower. Thank you for listening.